let's get started. So the CSUS program mission. So the mission of the California State University Sacramento School Psychology program is to promote school psychology practices that lead to positive learning and life outcomes for children and adolescents. To that end, the program engages in research, the dissemination of knowledge, the promotion of culturally competent practice, and professional community services that advance school psychology practices in Sacramento, California, and the United States, and internationally. And we'll go more into this too throughout tonight, and just so that so you guys get more information, because I know it's a lot of words and stuff, and don't worry, they'll be given all out. All right, so are you interested in a career that gives you the opportunity to make a positive difference in children and adolescent lives, provide mental health support to students, collaborate with educators, parents, community members, and mental health professionals, rely on research-based evidence to inform decisions, and assess students' behavioral and learning needs to determine the best ways to help students? If you are, then you're at the right place, because that's exactly what school psychologists are here to do and provide for students and for and their families. So who are school psychologists? Many people are probably asking themselves, like, what do school psychologists do? What is it that, what do they do different from other jobs, right? So school psychologists are child advocates. The number one thing that we're always going to say, and we're probably going to reiterate multiple times throughout tonight, is that we advocate for the child. The child we always do whatever is in the best interest for the child. Oh, okay. Sorry. And then we're also mental health professionals. We're consultants. We are leaders in research, and we're also psychoeducational assessment experts. And we're about to go into more detail about exactly what that role or that hat that we put on entails, okay?
So as Elodia mentioned, one of our major hats that we wear as a school psychologist is that we are child advocates. So every child can learn and be successful. And so the role of the school psychologist is to advocate for the child and make sure that they're getting what they need to be successful. So every decision that is made should be based on the best interest of the children, and decisions should also be based on proven best practices. So everything we do is evidence-based. It has, a backing, and once again, looking to make sure that that child, we're helping that child and advocating for that child to be successful.
Another hat we wear is being a mental health professional, and the services that we provide are social emotional assessments. We also do group and individual counseling services. We provide professional development and education to staff and other educators, and we also serve as a mental health advocate for students in our previous life. We provide education for parents as well, since we're not sitting, and the child that we're working with also has caregivers, and so we try to provide as much education for them as well. And also we are child advocates.
All right, so another aspect of being a school psychologist is psychoeducational assessment experts. So this is going to be a large part of what you do. What I mean by psychoeducational assessments is that we administer cognitive and psychoeducational assessments, just tests to test like IQ and achievement in the schools. We then interpret these assessments into data to inform decisions as an IEP member. So an IEP team member is a person who is on the team that does individual education plans within special education. So another thing that we would do is consult and collaborate with school staff, district personnel, community members, mental health professionals, parents, and students. So like I said, this is a large part of what we do as school psychologists. You learn a lot about this in your first and second years.
That's me. I can just talk, it's okay. Actually, for the Zoom friends. Hi, so again, as school psychologists, we wear lots of hats, and a big thing that we do is consult, and the general rule of thumb is Consult. Exactly. So we definitely emphasize providing recommendations and interpretations regarding many things, some of these things being instructional, behavioral, and mental health interventions. We always seek out consultation for what are the best practices for school and district policies. Especially during special education eligibility, making sure that we are always following the best practice for eligibility criteria, our codes, our laws, and of course, our regulations.
All right, so one of the last, it's not really one of the last, because we, as school psychologists, we hold a lot of hats, as you can tell. So one of the other things that we do, and it literally bases everything that we do, is we are leaders in research. So school psychologists conduct research, write publications, and participate as members of professional communities that include the following: National Association of School Psychology, which is NASP, California Association of School Psychology, CASP, International School Psychology Association, sorry, I can't talk, ISPA. And so pretty much what you'll see if you decide to apply and you get into the program is that a lot of the research is being done by our professors as well. So, you know, everything that we do, any decision that we make, every consultation we have, anything that we do inside the classroom with our students is all research based. So it all comes from somewhere, and we always make sure that whenever we're looking for research that to help us decide, oh, what should we do, we use credible resources. So you'll see that that is one of the most important things that, you know, you'll be doing in this job. And you have information and things to back you up, you know, if you make a decision.
All right, so I know that myself, before coming into this program, I had a huge question mark. What is the difference between a school counselor and a school psychologist? Does anybody have this question in their mind right now? Kind of curious about it? Okay, thank you for raising your hand. I appreciate it. It was definitely a question I had. So, here are some main differences. To become a school counselor, you need at least 2 years of graduate school. You're trained in education and counseling. Your responsibilities include individual and group counseling, career planning, and course scheduling. And you're typically employed in public schools and university advisement centers. Now, for a school psychologist, we're looking at least 3 years of graduate school. You're trained in education and psychology. Your responsibilities include assessment, consultation, as we've been mentioning, behavioral and academic intervention, individual and group counseling, and program evaluation. And typically, school psychologists are employed in public and private schools, but they can also have private practice, mental health centers, and universities.
Thank you. So where do school psychologists work? Well, the majority of school psychologists work within public schools, as you can see, with about 85%, but that doesn't mean there are other opportunities elsewhere. We also work in colleges, universities, there are private schools, private practice, faith-based schools, hospitals, and within the State Department of Education. There's also other sectors that you can work, but the majority of people work within the public school system. And then who are today's school psychologists? So the large portion of school psychologists are currently female. We have 87% female school psychologists, about 13% male, and then the average age is 42. So it's nice to see a lot of young faces coming in because a lot of these people are going to be retiring soon, and we definitely need more school psychologists. As you can see here, we have the state stats as compared to the national stats on what the ethnic backgrounds of school psychologists are, and they are predominantly white. We have some Hispanic, Latinx, but we definitely would like more diversity within this field. All right, and so with the levels of education, about 29% of school psychologists have a master's degree, 53.9 have a specialist degree, and then 16.7 have a doctorate degree. What you'll be doing here at Sac State is your first 2 years, you will earn a master's degree in school psychology, and in that third year, you can attempt to go for the specialist degree. So I think everyone here up in front of you is going for that specialist degree right now.
So let's speak over here because they can't hear in Zoom. Okay. Yeah. So maybe next time. Yeah. It's a little muffled on there. Okay, so what is the job outlook for a school psychologist? Excellent both at present and long term. So even now, starting now, and they're going to need us more. It's more demand. It's in demand right now. Employment of school psychologists is projected to grow. One of the most groups with the best job prospects will be with those with a specialist or doctorate degree in psychology. And school psychology was named one of the 100 best jobs in 2015 and 2016, and rated number 2 in the best social services jobs in 2016. Just let the screen. Okay, the salary information. The median is 68,000, and at the 75th percentile, we make about 90,000, and 25th percentile is about 51,000. For the NAS mean salary school psychologist, the practitioner is about 70, and so on the right side as well. University faculty, administration, and State Department. And the salary for school psychology is also differ with school, district, and state that you're at. It'll fluctuate with the salaries that you have.
All right, so the big question, why are you guys all here today? So obviously we're here because we want you guys to join us. Next slide. Thank you. So obviously we're here because we want you guys to be part of this program, but our program is also a great program here at Sac State. One of the main things is that we are NASP approved. NASP is the National Association of School Psychology, and we are an approved school by them. But we're also an accredited training program from the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing Program. Also, in the 3 years that you are here, you have the opportunity to not only earn your master's, but also your education specialist degree. And for those who aren't entirely sure, the specialist degree is actually the second highest degree awarded here at Sac State, the highest being the PhD. So you would pretty much in 3 years get 2 degrees for the price of one. But on top of that, we also offer some optional credentials, the first one being the Licensed Professional Clinical Counselor, also known as an LPCC. So with additional coursework and supervised hours, this allows you to practice independent clinical counseling. And then we also offer the Licensed Educational Psychologist, the LEP, which also with supervised hours and additional coursework allows you to do private practice for educational psychology.
All right, so the other reason why you should choose school psychology here at Sac State is because we have excellent teachers. And I'm not just saying that because I'm being biased and they're my professors.
And because there's one here today.
But because seriously, they are amazing. So currently full-time faculty, we have Dr. Stephen Brock, who is a professor and program coordinator. He was NASP president in 2014 to 2015. So obviously, you know, he must be very important, right? And he chose Sac State. And he's also a school psychologist. We have Dr. Megan O'Malley, who's an associate professor and also an amazing professor. And then we have Dr. Melissa Holland, who is a professor and fieldwork intern coordinator. So she's the one that helps us out whenever we're out in fieldwork, you know, helping out in schools, and, you know, making sure that we're all situated. And then she's also a clinical psychologist. So we do have current practicing school psychologists, clinical psychologists, behavioral specialists, and other mental health professionals on staff. So all of us have a supervisor for our clinics. So that's where we learn how to assess students, and we assess students not on a weekly basis, but like every other week, pretty much, who are on staff, you know, and so you get to learn from them, you get to learn the different perspectives, you get to learn different ways of doing things, and, you know, I think that's really good. Whenever you're going into the field and stuff, you not only see one side of things, but you see many ways of seeing things.
All right, so in your first year of the program, you're going to be learning a lot. You'll take courses in things like group and individual counseling with our lovely Dr. Holmes back there. You'll be doing psychoeducational assessments. You'll be learning about child development and research methods. And all of this that you'll be doing, you will have some direct supervision. So specifically the individual counseling and the psychoeducational assessment, that's when you're getting really hands-on. And you will be supervised by our lovely staff that, you know, Elodia just talked about. We have some other people too, some other trained supervisors. And guidance from highly qualified practicing.
Sí, hoy le dimos a mi abuela salmón, casi se lo comía fuerte. No. She wasn't hungry, but she ate breakfast and it was already like.
That's where you put into practice what you learned in your first year, and it gets really challenging, academically challenging, because you're pulled in different areas, counseling, assessments, and you end up going into your field work and you're supervised by practicing school psychologists, and you participate in a lot of meetings, IEP meetings, SST meetings, observing classrooms and run individual group counseling sessions. You also conduct psychoeducational assessments in the CSUS Center for Counseling and Diagnostic Services with direct supervision, instruction, and guidance. That was the clinic supervision that Elodia was talking about earlier. And you finish your fourth full-time semester with a master's in education and school psychology.
That'll be us.
Okay, so as a third year, you will start your work as an intern, usually paid, in a local school district with guidance and supervision from practicing school psychologists and your professors. So all the things that you do in your fieldwork, your second year, you're going to start doing on your own with less supervision in your third year. Also in your third year, you're going to work on your education specialist thesis or project if you choose to go that route. You don't need to do that, you just get the master's. And you're going to complete your units and coursework to further prepare you for your future career. When you graduate after that third year, you're going to graduate with an education specialist degree in school psychology, so that EDS, and your pupil personnel services credential, so that you can start practicing right away.
I'll just say up here. So finally, the power of the cohort. We just went over year 1, year 2, year 3, and as you can tell, we just showed you guys lovely pictures of us. So one of my personal favorite things about this program is that we do a cohort system. So what that pretty much means is that the people that you start with are the people you're going to go through the whole program with. So all of us have been together literally since day 1. We take all of our classes together. This is really good for helping building bonds, helping building like study groups. If ever I need help, I know Samuel will help me, or one of these girls will help me. So it's really good for helping to build relationships within your cohort. And we're also relatively small numbers. I think our cohort is 20, and then you guys are 18. So we're really small cohorts. So it really is good for building professional development. And then even when we leave the program, these will be people that I will be able to reach out to in terms of consultation. So I personally really enjoy this part of the program. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So another thing that I really enjoyed about the cohort system is that we actually do mentorships. So when you come in as a first year student, your second year is going to be there for you. So right now, my mentor is one of the third years over here on the far left. So he's doing his internship. So if I ever have a question about anything that has to do with what I'm doing right now, he's already done this. And we all have our own mentors, mentees as well, who are within the first year. So when you join this program, you really do feel included. The professors are there for you, and the students are there for you too. So it's actually really amazing.
And with that being said, I'll just add on. With that being said, you're matched to a mentor prior to entering the program. So let's say you just got accepted, for example. She just got accepted. She had her mentor in June. So she was already matched to someone prior to entering the program. So it kind of reduces a little bit of the stress about starting grad school because you already have someone to talk to that's currently in the program who's able to tell you information, but also guide you through your first year. Grad school's hard to begin with already. So when you have someone that's already there to guide you, it just helps relieve some stress. So maybe you can talk to them afterwards about that as well.
Yeah. Can I add something?
Yeah, of course.
And even though we do have this mentorship, your cohort is the only one that knows exactly how you guys are feeling in that moment. So it's really important that you guys know each other and during this time too.
You guys will get close. All right, so the reason that many of you actually did come here for admission requirements. So to apply or be admitted to the SAC School Psychology program, you need to have a baccalaureate degree from an accredited institution, have a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. The GRE is not currently required, but is strongly encouraged to be taken. I know it was required for us, but because of COVID times, there's certain exceptions that are being made. But, so you want to submit your GRE scores. Like I said, it's not currently required, but it's strongly recommended. And then the graduate writing assessment requirements, the GWAR, you don't really have to worry about that because once you get admitted, it is fulfilled through one of the courses that you take here in Sac State your first semester as a graduate student.
And then one more thing, did you want to say?
Yeah, just about GRE.
Oh, okay.
For our Zoom friends. For the 2022 admission, which will be next fall, that would be more than likely what you all would be applying for. It is recommended, but it isn't required. How we use that GRE is simply to help boost your application. So let's say you had a grade that perhaps was just an off semester for you. You can take that GRE, and if your GRE scores are somewhat high, then we can fill in for that lowered grade or that harder semester with those scores. Also, just to keep in mind, if you end up applying for the year after, which is the 2023 fall admission cycle, it looks as though we may be reinstituting the GRE at that time, but we're just going to follow the trend of what most of the other California universities are doing. So just to let you know, for next fall, it is not going to be a required component of the application.
Yeah, so what Dr. Holland said about, we also said about the whole, transcripts and stuff like that. Bruno will go into more detail about that. So if you have any questions on that too, you can always ask afterward.
Yeah. It is also highly recommended that you get experience working with children. So if you do an ADA, you can do substitute teaching, but you do want experience on your application that you do know how to work with children in various settings and diverse. So that's what you want.
All right, there are some prerequisite courses for this program. They are listed here. We've got abnormal psychology, education of exceptional children, intro to behavioral statistics, intro to counseling, power, privilege, and self-identity, tutoring children reading course and or experience in that area, and drugs and behavior. Now, I know before we started, I saw a few of you raise your hand that you've been doing psychology undergrad. What I want to point out, I also did psychology in my undergraduate, and a lot of these courses actually end up being something that you do when you're doing psychology and other areas. I know Carla mentioned she did child development. There's a lot of overlap. So it's really important that you look into the courses that you have done and think about courses that kind of seem similar to this and look at those descriptions and run it by some of our faculty. We will have information for all of them, so you can reach out to them and say, hey, I have this course that I think applies here. Send them the description and they'll let you know if it counts. In addition, I had to do quite a few prerequisites before coming into the program, and there are some really great programs online, I've never figured out how to pronounce it, Coursera or Coursera. Coursera. There are different ways to get those courses that you can do online as well and find a class that fits the description. So don't fret. It can be done.
Yeah.
Okay, so the application and interview tips. So, it's a demanding program for employment. I can see. Okay. High performance and demanding programs or employment, so your GPA, strong references from professors or employers, progress toward prerequisites, your knowledge of what school psychologists should do. Prepare your questions to ask your interviewers when you have your interview coming up soon, and also show your excitement. I know it can be a little nerve-wracking, but if you're genuinely excited about it, it'll show, it'll come.
interview concludes with a spontaneous writing sample, which will be sent right after your interview.
And I did just want to add, on the show your excitement part, we have amazing faculty, and our faculty is really good at helping you feel calm. And so when you get to this point, like, come in calm, knowing that our professors are super reassuring, and please do not come in feeling intimidated, because, I mean, all of us can tell you that our professors are amazing, so don't worry about that.
So this is the part where it gets a little scary. So the acceptance and graduation rates. For the fall 2021 to 2022 cohort, we had about 50% of the applicants interviewed and only 42% admitted. There were 18 students admitted last cohort, and our cohort, one before that, had about 22 admitted. So, and then our 3-year graduation rate is 80%. So this is a very competitive program, but it is a great program to be in.
And so this is advisory, but we will also be going around you guys to help out. But this is, if you guys have any questions about the program after today, you can reference this. So if your last name starts with A through I, you can contact Dr. Stephen Brock. So if you guys have your phones, you guys can take a picture of this. But also we'll be going around to answer any questions. But this is additional questions. So I'll give you guys a moment for whoever wants to take pictures. Yeah.
So this is more for like, if you have questions on a specific course that you're like, I don't know if it goes under one of those categories and you want to run it past them, I would recommend, like, if you have multiple courses where you're like, I'm not so sure, list them all in that email, and like give the little description, tell them exactly what you're trying to do, and then they'll either send you an email back that says, hey, you know what, you can come to my office hours and we'll talk about it, and get more information out of that, or they'll be like, yes, this works, or you know what, you might need, so they'll give you some feedback and stuff. So make sure that these are the people you want to go to get those courses that you may be considering as courses for the program verified. Like, they'll be like, yes, for sure, or no, and they'll let you know. That's what happened with me, that's what I'm saying. Did you guys already?
Oh, did everyone take a picture already? Yeah, we're good. Okay, perfect.
All right, so then, I forgot to add this James one. Okay, sorry, James.
Sorry, James.
All right, so this is our contact information. So if you guys want to take a picture of this as well, you guys can totally email any of us on here. So this is actually one of the important ones, and I totally left that out, but I will add that back on, and I'll put up the screen afterwards. But James Carley is the graduate student assistant, and he pretty much helps the professors with anything they may need. So he helps them out answering emails, so I don't know if any of you guys have emailed and received a response from James, but he's the one that does respond to those emails. And then all of us are available as well to, for if you guys want to like pick our brains and be like, hey, I'm thinking about this, or hey, what do you think about, please. I don't know how many times I have to say that. Please feel free to email us. We are not afraid to answer any questions. And if we don't know the answer, we will tell you, hey, give us a couple hours. We'll try to ask our professors. And honestly, we are kind of like the best people to go to if you have questions about like the program itself, because we're going through it, and then also if you got accepted or get an interview and stuff, you can ask us, hey, what do you think is going to be on the interview? Or, just kind of ask us, any tips that we may have extra. So you want to take a picture of that? If not, I'm going to pull it up anyways afterwards, so I can add James' email on there.
With that being said, just know that we are rooting for all of you to apply to our program. So obviously, we are rooting for all of you to succeed. So please take us up on this. We will help you guys out. And we say this more than enough. Like, our first year here could echo on that, but we constantly tell you guys, we are here for you guys. And it's true, because we need school psychologists out there. So anything to get more people into the program, we will definitely support that. And with that being said, this is some of our social medias and places to find out more information about this. So we are on Instagram. So if you guys want to give us a follow,
We are also on Facebook, but honestly, we use Instagram more. And then if you want to find out more of our page on the technical side, this is our Sac State link where you can find out more specific admission requirements. And then our NASP and then CASP, which is our national and state level associations. And that was it. Thank you guys. Now we're going to be walking around answering. No?
So does anybody have any questions right now that you would like to ask in person and also in the chat? If there's anything that's directed to us, we're more than willing to ask. If not, then we'll go into like individual
Oh,
questions.
does anyone have any whole group questions?
Yeah, like, that you think that someone else may be like, well, you know what, I'm wondering that too. If not, it's totally fine.
If not, you're free to go.
And we will also, like I said, be walking around to answer individual questions as needed, but any whole group questions first. Yeah, sorry, of course.
The PowerPoint will be on the reading site, right? Or no?
It's going to be on the
Sac State site? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
And go ahead.
What's the student to faculty ratio in the program?
Good question. So with each cohort, it's different. So with our cohort, we had 22 people. In our first year, it was 3 core faculty that you saw here, but there are also additional faculty. So let's see. In your first year, you will probably see about the 3 core faculty and maybe 1 or 2 other school psychologists who are currently practicing. And then within your second year, you're going to actually go to a field site where you'll be doing work with a school psychologist who stays at that school. So within your second year, you're exposed to a lot more people, including the core faculty and other people who are working with the school psychology program. Any other questions?
Did you go over clinic?
Oh, yeah. And so another thing that you do, aside from working within the school, is clinic. We have a clinic here. So when a student wants to get evaluated, or when a student is referred here to the clinic, we have clinic supervisors who are also school psychologists, where we do those psychoeducational evaluations I was talking about earlier.
That's usually like a 4-to-1 ratio for that. It's really small groups so that you can get individualized help. So your clinic groups are always going to be a lot smaller, and then your classroom is going to be your entire cohort. So anywhere from like 18 to 22, and then your teacher. Anyone else?
Yeah, but that's a really great question.
That was a good question. All right, so we will now be going into, are there any Zoom questions actually? Sorry, Zoom people.
I
We're
see
good?
29.
Brittany's actually answering them in live time.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Brittany, are there any that you think are worth?
Yeah, mentioning to everybody.
When is the application due for next fall?
Ooh,
That is February 1st. It's always on February 1st. So keep that in mind. It's February 1st is application.
And there is a Cal State Apply and a supplemental application, and both are due on February 1st.
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Holland, but I believe our application's already open, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, it's
October
okay. October 1st, yeah.
Yeah, so it opened October 1st, but you have until February 1st to work on your application and complete it.
Yeah.
If I have a master's in education, is it possible to transfer courses towards this degree?
It's just, do you want me to use that?
Yeah.
So if you're already coming in with a master's, you absolutely can transfer some of those courses, though it's quite likely that you're going to need to take some of our core courses that are more specialized for the field of school psychology. In addition, you need to take all of those practicum courses that are going to be necessary in order to get the PPS credential.
Can they hear that?
Oh, and the other piece about that is once you are admitted, what you would do is sit down with one of the core faculty and we can go through all of your coursework in order to determine which courses might be able to supplement. Good question. Any other questions that you're seeing there?
Did that pop any questions for you guys? Huh?
They would like to know more of the difference between the LPCC and the LEP.
Oh,
That's a great question. So the LEP, many school psychologists go on to get the LEP. What it requires is several years of hours accumulation after your internship, and then you take a test and you can apply to get that LEP. The LPPC is a little bit more complicated. Prior to your obtaining your master's degree, you would need to take several additional courses in addition to taking an extra day of field work in clinical work, such as individual and group counseling, et cetera. And then after graduation, in sum, you would need 3,000 hours of clinical supervised experience. So it is more of an investment. However, at the end, you would be able to do some private practice work with regard to counseling. And we do have a handful of our students. Are any of you going through that right now? We do have a handful of our students going through it right now and taking extra hours of field work either at their school site, or I know, Amber, you're at St. John's shelter. Oh, and Carla, yeah, of course. Geez, sorry. Of course, you're both here. Fantastic. Doing extra field work or outside clinical experiences as well.
So you guys are interested in the LPCC. Amber and I are both currently doing it, so we can answer questions in regard to that.
Is there a benefit to applying earlier than the deadline?
There actually isn't, but I would recommend that waiting to the final hour, frankly, is never quite a good plan of action. You never know if the button's going to get sticky the day before. And so it's always a good idea to plan ahead. And that way then, if you have any questions with regard to your application, either the faculty or James, whose information is now up there, school psychology information at CSUS.edu. The majority of your questions actually could be answered through James. And if he has any questions or queries because something might be, a little bit more of a complex question, he consults with the faculty around that.
How many hours are required for the part-time, like per day?
If you go part-time?
Yeah.
So we do have a part-time schedule, and I would recommend that we do actually have an FAQ, a list of frequently asked questions, and on that FAQ sheet, we have a sample part-time schedule. So we have it pretty solidified if you were to go part-time what that schedule would look like, and so that sample schedule is online. In order to receive that, I would recommend that you email the school psychology information at csus.edu, and that sample part-time schedule could be sent to you so that you can see what that would look like. Some of our students do end up going part-time, and that's totally fine. We do not discriminate. If you decide that you would like to go part-time during your interview, we will be asking that, and that's more for our planning purposes. And so that's totally fine. It is important to know, however, that some of our classes are during the day. So if you're hoping that you're going to be, let's say, working full-time and doing the program, that would be more tricky, if not frankly impossible. And the reason being, some of our classes are during school days because we work with school-age children, and so that's when your coursework is going to be, because we go out into the schools for some of your coursework, et cetera. And most of your classes are face-to-face. A few of our seminars are online.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, the presentation portion is now done.